So, hello everyone. We have got Soumya and we have got Bhavna. Before we begin the session, I mean, just a quick round of update. How are you guys doing? Where have you reached? And what are the problems you're facing? Maybe Soumya, you can start first.
Yeah, okay. So, sir, I have completed week five and it
Soumya, can
was
you be a little more loud if possible?
okay. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Is this right? Like,
Yeah,
am I
this is
audible?
fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I have completed all the lectures till week five and it was great. I got to know many more things and the case studies about each thing, particularly many companies. And as they pitched, it was really great and I got to learn many things. Apparently, yes, I found trouble in week five's assignments question number one. So there was a question. It was asking. I guess it was on how the startups are facing trouble to take the idea to impact. So during that lecture, that healthcare innovation lecture, I guess it was covered under valleys of death. So sir was telling us about valleys of death. Like initially, you have to get the idea, then proof of concept, then you have to take it to the industry, and then to the investors. So this was majority like the four steps. So definitely valleys of death is a correct answer, and also like the reluctance of the people is also a very big thing. Like they don't really move forward. They think it would be very harsh on them, or they won't be able to conquer. So that is definitely points like after idea to impact like the third part where the academic institutions ideas move to the industry people's making it in a reality like prototype kind of thing or the complete product, and later on to the investors. So after completing about investors and how they can really help, he told us that it is the third valley of death. That is where the academic institutes and the industry are not really coping up with each other or like lacking the cooperation. So I found that and even he mentioned later on that this is the main reason, so that the idea to impact is not really happening. So this was the reason I chose for that option, and I thought so that is the correct option.
That's fine. Soumya, can you quickly brief me about your background once? I mean, you
Okay,
are
so
studying or you're in profession?
sorry.
Yeah, your background.
Yeah, so I am currently doing my bachelor's of technology from Pandit Deendayal Energy University, Gandhinagar. My degree is in information and communication technology.
Hmm.
Also, I'm part of two clubs. One is Quizzing Club and one is Entrepreneurship Club. So I have had a huge interest in entrepreneurship since the very beginning. I guess from 4 to 5 years, I have been following multiple investors, multiple entrepreneurs, and seeing their journey, and really like them, and I appreciate that.
Okay. And can you update me about your assignments? You have been able to do all the previous five
Yeah.
assignments?
Yes, yes. All the five assignments I had got the full marks. Apparently, in the last one, this was the only place where I had found trouble. So, yeah.
Okay. So there are two ways we can address your question. One is that we
So,
complete the lecture today, and at the end, we usually discuss the discussion forum questions.
correct.
Or if you really want, we can do it at the first. You tell me.
I would really want if it could happen in the first because I guess I won't be sure. I won't be there for the complete session here because I have my exam starting on from the Monday onward. So I don't really think so. I would be able to cope up with everything.
Okay. Okay. Fine. So I will just ask if Karthik and Bhavna are fine with that because they are also learners and joined in today. So Karthik and Bhavna, are you fine with we discussing the discussion forum question of Soumya and then we can, proceed with the session today? Just give me
Yeah,
a
yes, sir.
yes. Okay.
You can proceed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Great. 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 Thank you all. Let me just share my screen and you can please let me know. So are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So for our learners' benefit, I have just posted the question once again. The question is, uh, the learner had submitted the assignment 5, which is primarily the week 5 assignment we are referring to. All right. And in question number 1, he's saying that this is pertaining to the ninth lecture of the session, where Professor B. Ravi, he's talking about, the major problems why people are not able to go from idea to impact. And there is a question which has certain options. I'll just go through it, and probably, we can discuss that. So let me just show that question so that our learners, maybe they have not attempted because there is still time left for it. So the question, no, I think this was already done. Yeah. So the question was, according to the healthcare and innovation culture, why are people not able to go from idea to impact? Is this the same question, Soumya? Right?
Yes,
Yes,
this is the question.
Okay, so this was the question. The four options were difficulty in converting idea into a POC, which is the proof of concept, reluctance of most people to go forward from, crossing the valleys of death. So basically, valleys of death is a term which is used, where you can see where the idea gets dropped off, because of the challenges faced, somehow the idea is not, shifting to the next stage of it. Okay. The third
Correct.
option was lack of cooperation between academic institutions and industry. And the fourth one is, funding requirements in each stage. Now, let me just, yes. Okay. Now, let us go one by one. Okay. So, the first option is difficulty in converting the idea into POC. Now, idea into a POC, as per the lecture, was something which is quite easy, because just have a very simple idea, and creating a POC means you either create a model, or you either create a mock-up, or you add a little more detail and you try to present it. So it's basically the ideation phase only, wherein not much of depth is there, but still there is something tangible. There is probably something physical. Okay, but here we are talking about idea to impact. We are talking about the entire journey, right? So the first option does not fits in well. The second option is reluctance of most people to go forward crossing the valleys of death. Now, if you go through the lecture, each valley of death, requires a good amount of, you say, money, as well as huge amount of effort and supporting facilities. And that is why crossing each valley of death is quite, difficult, critical, until unless you have that kind of team with you, until you have that kind of resources and support. So from that perspective, the answer given was, reluctance of most people to, go forward from crossing the valleys of death. Now, the third option is lack of cooperation between academic institution and industry. Now, this is what Soumya is also saying, that, it is probably correct. Now, I agree to Soumya to a certain extent, because, it was mentioned that, because of the lack of cooperation, somewhere here or here, there is this gap wherein which is not being filled. And क्योंकि यहाँ पे there is no cooperation happening, we are not able to proceed further. Now, okay, and the last option is funding requirements in each stage. So yes, there is a funding requirement in each stage, but then that is not much of a challenge because of the kind of incubators we have, the kind of GDC, and there's a number of facilities you can actually avail. So that again was not. So option A and D was not correct. Now we are talking about option B and C. Now, as I mentioned, that I partly agree with Soumya that, it was mentioned in the lecture that lack of cooperation between academic institution and industry. But if you read the question carefully, it also mentions something called idea to impact. Okay. So you might be correct with respect to this particular area or this particular phase of it. But if you are looking at from the perspective of idea to impact, and we are talking about basically this to this, then this particular answer fits in well, crossing valleys of death, because it captures each valley of death, and we are talking about the entire journey, right? But here we are talking just primarily about, a part of it, a phase of it, and not the entire journey from idea to impact. So you are partly correct in terms of, maybe in the intermediate stage, that is a challenge. But when we're talking about right from the beginning till the end, that is why this answer, is correct, the reluctance. So this is my perspective. This is my understanding. Maybe the participants who are here, they can also share their perspective, their point of view. Uh, that will be fine. Karthik, Soumya, Bhavna.
No, sir, you can continue.
Okay, okay, okay. Anything from you, Bhavna? Yes, yes, Soumya, you have your
No,
hand. Okay, okay. Soumya.
Sir, can you get back to the screen?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so sir, as Professor B. Ravi mentioned, so he was mentioning very particularly, very clearly, so that these are all the problems faced by the startup companies or the people who are the entrepreneurs who wish to proceed, but they don't really have the maybe funding, sometimes academic knowledge, like the knowledge is not there, sometimes the prototype के लिए जो requirements होती है वो fulfill नहीं होती, like बहुत सारी चीजें होती है. So these are all the things, like the valleys of death like completely holds everything. कि, at all stages these are the problems faced. So, and particularly when Professor B. Ravi mentioned कि idea to impact में दिक्कत कब आती है, during this stage where there is very much lack of cooperation between the academic institutions and industry. And इसका क्यों reason है, he also mentioned that कि academic institutions are very much focused in making the the creation of the idea, and industry are very much on the selling the idea. Neither of the branch is really focusing on the other person's thing, neither is academic wale interested in knowing how to make a product or how to sell a product, nor is the industry people thinking how to create an idea. So that lack of cooperation or lack of understanding is also there. So that is the biggest hurdle, I think so, according to lecture, that the people are not able to that people are not able to overcome to go through.
Hmm.
I definitely agree. The B option is correct, in a generic sense. But if we talk about very particular, I guess third option gives a better overview.
Yeah, yeah. See, Soumya, again, I would say that I partly agree with you, but see, these questions are not made by me, and even the answer key is not made by me. But be looking at the question and looking at the kind of scope which the question is asking, that is a probable logic why the fourth option is not, sorry, the third option is not correct. If this would have been a multiple choice question, probably we both have been agreed upon. Okay, so even the second would have been right, third would have been right, even the fourth one would have been right because he also mentions that there is a good amount of
Yes.
investment required, right? But
So several
since
times it ends.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So since it's about from zero to impact, that's where this is a more generic answer. This is more something which fits into each valleys of death, each stage, and that is why probably this one is correct.
Okay, sir. Got it.
Okay, okay. So what we'll do is we'll go back to our, how we proceed with the content and what I asked from Soumya. Let me just ask it from the other people as well. So Karthik, can we get an update, quick update from you? How are you doing? Your background and how far you have reached? Attempting the questions. Are you facing any challenges?
Sir,
Yes, Karthik.
sir, what is the real meaning of incubation?
What is the
Real meaning of incubation.
what do you mean by real meaning?
Sir, no, sir. In some perspective, it's varying the information and it details and its meaning also, sir. Sir, I have to confirm that what is the meaning, real meaning of incubation?
Okay. So probably a better way of answering this would be what do you understand by incubation?
Sir, you can explain, right, sir?
See, again, now if you see and go through the content of this entire, NPTEL, most of the question they start with that according to Mr. Gopi, according to Miss Shilpi, according to Mr. Dhyan. Okay. So based on their life experience, based on their journeys, they have their own perceptions. They have their perception about success. They have their perception about, how, what are the challenges towards of beginning of startup, and probably, what they want to gain from the incubation facilities, right? So that is why the definitions of incubation or definition of success according to them, or, what are the hurdles of, uh, coming up with a startup, that will be very, very different. Okay. So that is why my question to you was, what do you understand based on the content you have probably gone through up till, we are reached the midway of it. आपको क्या समझ में आ रहा है कि what incubation is? And then I'll try to help you out in this.
Sir, incubation means a startup. Means when you are starting a business, what are the ways what is the type of the business you are starting? What is the basement for it? That I understood, sir. Is that a meaning is correct or not? I'm
Uh,
clarifying.
uh, we don't say that incubation means a startup. That might not be the right thing to say. Let me just, take you to the original word of incubator. Now, incubator word has come from hospital environment. If you have, if you have your, family members and there have been any, childbirth in your family, probably a child, when he or she gets, birth, when the birth happens, usually a child is kept in an incubator, and that's where the word incubator has come. Now, what incubator does is that it, kind of facilitates the initial phase of a child. And the initial few days are very, very critical for a child, because many a times, there are some ups and downs. There need to be oxygen support. There need to be a certain temperature which needs to be around a child. An infant, probably infant is the right word. And there has to be, complete hygiene required, because they are very prone to infection. Now that is where the incubator actually works in. So right now I'm talking about the literal term in the the medicine and health environment. So what incubator does is that it kinds of creates an ecosystem. It creates an environment which is helpful for the child, helpful for the infant, to go through the initial high risk phase. When I say high risk, what I mean to say is that, the initial few days which are very critical for that infant to, to survive longer. So that is where incubator helps in. Now the same kind of what do you say principle has been adopted in this kind of, startup culture. So incubator is not startup. Incubator is something which kinds of breathes life into a startup. I would rather call it that way. So when a startup is, coming up with an idea, they're trying to form a team, or they're kind of looking at some, funding requirement. What incubator will does is that, they will try to assess them. They will try to, connect with the right mentors. They will try to guide you. They'll try to, ask you that, have you even, validated with your users? So that is what incubator is trying to do. It is trying to strengthen you by, posing questions, by connecting you with the right people, connecting you with the right team, and helping you form a very robust, pitch or robust business model by which you can survive further. And that is what incubator does. Karthik.
Sir, thank you for the information, sir.
Okay, but you didn't tell me my question. My question was, what are you doing? How far have
Sir,
you reached?
I'm doing the mechanical engineer.
Okay, okay. Which college?
Sairam, Sairam
And
College of Engineering.
okay, okay. And where are you based out of?
Karnataka.
Karnataka. All right, all right. And this is your UG program or
Yes.
PG program, and which year?
First year, sir, we are for NPTEL courses login. So I registered after attending the examination. I will take a subscription, sir. This is my first class, sir.
Okay, fine,
Yeah,
that's
that's
fine.
all, sir.
So
Yeah, got me.
are you taking this course to meet your credit requirement in your college, or this is just to understand and uh,
No, sir. My dream is to make a startup, sir. Be an entrepreneur.
okay, okay, that is
So I
to
have taken this selected this course, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
my question to you is that is it meeting your academic requirement, or this is more like, from an interest point of view, you have, taken up this course?
Interest, sir.
All
Nothing
right.
like academic part, sir.
Fine, fine, fine. Actually, I have asked this question because there were many students earlier who had taken NPTEL courses and who have been, taken up to meet their academic requirement. With, by the end of a course, when it is finished, a student gives an exam and then that credit is fulfilled into the academic requirement of a course. So there were many students pursuing undergraduate courses, just like Soumya, and they had to fulfill that, so that's why they have taken one NPTEL course. I mean, that was the given requirement from their institute.
Nothing like that, sir. This nice to make startup for that. Only we have chosen this course.
That's great to know, Karthik. I mean, you're doing it from based out of your interest. I mean, it's really very appreciable and great that you have joined. I believe this is your first live
Yes, sir.
session.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and were you able to go through the content from week 1 to week
First live
6?
session, sir.
Yeah, yeah, but have you gone through the content?
Sir, I have attended three assignments, sir.
Okay, and the content, the lectures which
Weekly
are there,
assignments, sir.
the module wise content, have you gone through that?
Somewhat I read, sir.
Okay, that's
Means
fine.
I don't have time. Meanwhile, we have exam from Monday, sir. Test.
Oh, so both of you have exams from Monday, huh? All right.
Yes, sir.
That is fine. That is fine. So, best of luck for your exams, both of you. And I was really fascinated to know that even Soumya had scored great in his previous assignments. He has been scoring really well. So great work, both of you. And if you get
Thank you,
time,
sir.
please, continue attending the session. And if you have, something important to do or your examination, you are free to, do that as well. So that is perfectly fine. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Meanwhile, Bhavna, can you tell me, I mean, how did you find the previous lecture and anything uh, which can
Yes,
help
sir.
us?
So actually, the reason only is I found the previous lecture very interesting, and I mean, it helped a lot. That's why I thought I'll attend this one also to clear. I mean, I understand better when I attend these sessions. So that's why I'm attending it. I think I've already told you about me in the last
Yeah,
session.
yeah, you
So
were
I
planning
don't
to,
have
yeah.
a particular, doubt in the course, but generic query I have, but whether I can ask now or after your session, I mean, I'm totally fine with both the things.
No, no,
Um,
we can have that because we already had one question there. I think,
okay.
yeah.
So, as I told you in the previous lecture, that I already tried one startup, which was product design based. So, I just wanted to share one of my experience, and I want your views on, I mean, whether what I did was right or what could have been done to save it, because I couldn't, continue.
Sure, sure. I mean,
So,
that will be helpful to me and even to Karthik as well, because he also is equally excited about entrepreneurship and, starting up. So we have a story with a story more like an experience what, Bhavna wants to share. Yes, Bhavna, please.
So initially, I started with one of my partner. So we made some upcycle products, made from wooden pallet and plastic bottles and glass bottles. So all the waste we were trying to, upcycle and make either furniture or a lifestyle product or small and big products. But then we realized that we were not getting enough clients. So, but
Enough what?
there
Enough,
we
enough
uh,
clients.
clients,
Clients. Okay.
customers, yeah, who
Okay.
can actually buy, because we felt the requirement is quite customized, because everyone has their own sense of space and they want to design their own space. So they want things to be customized to their needs, uh, which becomes, whenever we are talking to a client, it becomes an independent project with them. It's not like we have created something and then we can sell it to the customer. It's not like that. We realized. So people want to make their space according to their need. So that became a challenge because when we design a product, we look for a mass manufacturing. But there, what happened? Every client was a different project. So somehow we felt it was not a profitable thing because we had to put a lot of energy in creating customized products.
That's true.
So then we thought then we also got some offers like creating conducting workshops for students. So because this is something new, this was something new because I think this was like 2016 or something, 2015 or 2016. So that time upcycling was quite new to students. So different institutes wanted their students to learn and know more about upcycling. So we started, conducting few workshops. But that was again not a, fixed source of income, revenue generation, because as and when we get requests, this is more like an additional thing. So that's why things didn't work out well. So I just wanted your opinion, how actually, things can, work better when it comes to this kind of designing, because this does not require any mass, industry made or, factory made products. These are all completely, half part is what um, manufactured in factory and half part is handmade, because we did some weaving and all, including a few artisans, weavers and all. So what do you think about it? I just wanted your opinion.
Can
That's
you share, sir?
yeah, Karthik. Yes, yes.
Sir, as Bhavana said, sir, first she is searching for the customers, sir. First, you have to do marketing, right, sir? For that, for that, she can be used social media and other platforms, like YouTube and Facebook, sir. First, we have to do marketing. Then we have to do. We have to sell that to customers, sir. That then that will reach to many people, sir. That is my opinion.
Okay. Awesome. So, Bhavna,
So
could you
that's all,
tell
sir.
us whether you were able to do some kind of marketing with
Yes,
your pro?
actually, marketing wise and visibility wise, we were doing fine because we were also got published in couple of newspaper also. We got our products exhibited at different places in Delhi, in Mumbai, in Bangalore. So we got that platform. But the only gap or the only problem we faced was the requirement from the customer. As I said, ki they want more customized furniture. They don't want to buy what we have made already. So that was a challenge.
Okay.
So we couldn't, make 100 pieces of one furniture and keep it and stock it and then sell it. We couldn't do that. We had to, make on order.
Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit more when you say that, people wanted customized solution? Just one example or, just to get an clarity
One
on.
example, suppose we were making something, suppose a bench or a coffee table out of wooden pallet. So we had a fixed size in mind, how a coffee table will be. So we made one, and then a customer, we had exhibited in different places, and we also had a website. So customer came to us and said, "I have this area of my space and balcony, so I want this table to be of this particular size. I don't want the size which you are offering." So at that point, we couldn't even let go that customer because we were so new and we wanted customer. So we had to make, that table. So similar kind of instances happened. Some people wanted, we made some, nice chair out of tires. So some people wanted ki, nahi, we want a different kind of fabric to it. We want a different height to it, and more of these customized requirements. So that was the reason we couldn't stock up things, and maybe that was the reason we it didn't work out so well.
That's a very valid, I think, scenario. Uh, because especially when you have something in the craft sector, I mean, you mentioned that,
Hmm.
it was more about handcrafting and, you were making, things. Then people do have certain expectation that, if this can be made, then probably even my requirement can be addressed, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
now turning around that could be, so that was a challenge, but then it could have been turned around in an opportunity, in the case where your startup would be selling or addressing to the customized solution of the users. Now that could have worked if you would have got orders on like big scale. I mean, say for example, you
Hmm.
pitch it to certain corporate, wherein their cafeteria or their lounges maybe required certain, like you mentioned, upcycled stuff, wherein you get good numbers, and wherein
Hmm.
your startup could have survived. But yes, even to reach that stage requires that you start with something small and then you spread so that the word spread, and then you reach out to that bigger,
Hmm. Hmm.
the big fishes, which can actually address your requirement. Now, another thing which probably I've understood from this particular course is that it was there were two, one was a faculty member, and the other one was a IIT Hyderabad student. So the question posed by the professor was that what kind of problem you are solving, right? Now, in your case, it is something which is not essentially a problem per se from the end user perspective. It is something which is desirable. I mean, they already might be having certain sitting things or whatever you are making, they might be having certain setup of that. So uh, it might not be that important problem as a problem per se. If you see, that might not be the problem which they are facing, right? For them it would be something that, okay, this looks good, but I might have it, and it doesn't bother me even if I don't have it. So then the professor said that uh, if it is not a problem, it's okay. I mean, there could be solutions where you're not addressing a problem, but then addressing certain needs. So then it has to be certain needs. It could be emotional needs. It could be some functional need which you are trying to address. Or I mean, in your case, probably you said about upcycling. So maybe you're trying to work around the environmental needs. Okay. Now, but that again requires a very, very specific set of audience. Not everybody is bothered about, environment. People are kind of proactive, but then when it comes to buying thoughtfully and, reducing, and buying only those things which you really require, that kind of sensibility, is not present across. We do have individuals, but then probably the number is very limited. So yet again, I feel that maybe that is the bracket wherein when gets trapped into. You raised your hand. I mean, if you want to share anything.
Yes, actually, one question I have. So, when we say a problem, so are we only referring to the problem coming from a user, or I mean, environmental problem is also a problem. So, I mean, that also can become a problem statement, and then we can propose solutions. So, should this always be a user for a user, or I mean, this kind of problem statement can be made.
Yeah, that's again a very tricky and interesting question. That the problem is problem when it affects the user, or a problem is a problem when it affects the environment, and then probably silently affects the user. So the problems which affects the user directly, say for example, the examples in the previous sessions have been around biomedical and the tricks which is required to find the vein and all. So those are like immediate problems. People relate with it, people feel it, and they want some solution to it. They are eager to have certain solutions, and when the solution occurs, they take it, they will go for it. So that is the kind of acceptance you get when you are addressing the real problems. Now, I'm not saying that the environmental concerns are not real, they are very much real. But then, if it would have made an impact wherein you have pitched your product in a certain way that, if you use my product, you reduce the carbon footprint by 30% or 40%. That's again one thing which has been explicitly mentioned in the content that, when you do something, if you say in your brief that, I would want to make a lightweight furniture, that doesn't work. If you say that, I will make a furniture which will be 30% lightweight as compared to the contemporary furniture, or 30% lighter in weight as compared to a wooden furniture, probably that is the kind of a figure which creates an impact, right? So if you, even if you're working in this sector, if you go with certain stats, with certain figures, probably that gets registered, and in the long term, then it kind of affects the psychology of a user, right?
Mm,
Saying that this is a made from waste materials and all, it can affect to a certain level. But if you say that it is made from waste material, and but the life extends by 20%, unless it will go in creating more filth, more landfill, if those figures can come into picture, then probably the chances of failures reduces. That's what I would
uh,
say.
that's a very, very good idea you gave, sir. Thank you so much. I think I'll think around. Thank you so
Great.
much.
Great. Most welcome. Most welcome. Okay. So let's begin our session for today. Please give me a heads up when you are able to see the screen. Okay. Is my screen visible? Anyone?
Yes.
Right. All right. So as it has been a protocol that initial few slides are basically the ones which I repeat. It's based on a protocol that there might be a new learner in each and every class. So I'll repeat the first few minutes. The structure, the overview of the course, and what kind of ethics we require, and where you would find the recordings, and all other stuff. So the course name is Understanding Incubation and Entrepreneurship. And the instructor of the course is Professor V.K. Chakravarti sir, who is from IIT Bombay Industrial Design Center. My name is Abhishek. I am currently pursuing my doctoral education from IIT Roorkee from the Department of Design. Today we are currently at the week 6, and we can say that we have reached the halfway mark today. So it's a big thing for the learners, and for the course that we have reached the halfway, and 6 more weeks are left. So I believe everybody is excited to complete this course. Okay. So the general agenda is that this is a live session. What we can also say that this more than the live session, uh, it's also a problem solving session. And actually, the lecture today, we begin with a problem. We begin with a question on discussion forum, wherein Soumya had a question. He had a valid question, and many a times, what happens is that the question is framed in a way that you need to read the question again and again to understand that what it is talking about. Earlier in our few sessions, there were certain questions saying that according to Professor Dash, this what how do you define success, and there were certain options. So the learner were questioning that how can this be defined as success. So my answer to them was that, see, again, if you read the question, it has a prefix to it, which says, according to Professor Dash. Now, that is where these things are very, very important when you are reading the question. That, it is according to a certain professor in a certain context, which is saying that, this is the correct answer. Again, if It might not be correct based on your understanding. It might not be correct from any other entrepreneur's point of view, but then it is correct based on that person's experience, that person's experience as an expert in, for example, incubators, or expert in, in the funding, this thing. So that is where, we need to understand the question, and then we need to attempt those questions. Okay. Second point is we will discuss and solve previous year assignments, because the current set of assignments are there to evaluate you. You will be getting scores out of it, and these marking will be, accumulated, collected in order to generate the final score. We'll also respond to the queries and questions posted in the discussion forum, and I think that's probably we did at the very beginning of this question, wherein one of the learners had a query and we tried to, attempt to resolve it. So during the live session, I mean, it's a humble request that everybody keeps their mic on mute. And the idea is that, we record these sessions. These sessions are posted on YouTube. The intent is that, if there are learners who are not able to attend the live session, they can do it whenever they get a free time, because many of them are pursuing education, many of them are have a professional engagement. So based on their free time, they are able to, attend these sessions and, take benefit of them. But yes, you have the option of, raising your hand. So you can raise your hand, and you can ask questions, or you can, compliment with your own perspectives and thoughts. That is completely fine. For asking questions, we have a facility called discussion forum, which is available here. When you click here, you can basically ask a question. It could be pertaining to the assignments, it could be pertaining to a content, it could be pertaining to evaluation or examination, anything. Okay. But many a times, a lot of queries are addressed in the assignment section in itself. So keep a check on the assignment section, because, important announcements are posted in this particular section. Okay. Like I said that, these sessions are recorded and these sessions are put up on YouTube. And this is the link wherein you can find those session recordings, as well as the annotated PDFs. Annotated, I mean, whatever I am scribbling, whatever I am writing, I generate a PDF and it is uploaded in the Google Drive. So no need to copy the link here. If you go to problem solving session, and, it will be something like July, although the current month is September, but it would be mentioned July because we started in July. The course started in July. If you click here, it will open an Excel sheet. And in the Excel sheet, you will find the link and the drive both. Okay. Like I mentioned, the course name is Incubation, Understanding Incubation and Entrepreneurship. It is, the instructor is Professor V.K. Chakravarti sir from IIT Bombay. The course duration is 12 weeks. And as I mentioned, we have reached the halfway mark. So big applause to us. This is the week 6 content we are discussing. The week 6 deadline is 6th of September. So we've got 4 days to, attempt those questions. Please do it in order to, keeping a check on those 8 assignments which will be, marked. You need to be proactive in that. At least 8 assignments are required, for the internal assessment, because we will consider the best 8 for internal evaluation. Okay. Like I have been telling that, if you are taking this course from a certificate perspective, you will have to, attempt a final exam. The date as per the NPTEL platform is 28th of October. You will have a choice. Either you can select the pre-lunch slot or post-lunch slot. And even you will have the option of selecting the designated center. Okay. By designated center, I mean the exam center. So you can actually you'll be given 3 choices, 3 to 4 choices. In an hierarchy, present your choices. And depending upon the number of students, the kind of facility they have at then center, and at what point you have registered, you'll be allotted a center of your choice, wherein you will have to go and attempt the physical examination. Okay. Now, this is very interesting. This is the progress. Now, progress means that how you are progressing in your reading of the content and in your assignments. So it gives a very interesting, a diagram about the course progress, how far we have reached. If you go unit-wide progress, you will get, assignment marks. Sorry, here you will get the assignment scores. So each weekly assignments, how much you have scored. So it will be something like week 1, week 2, week 3, 4, 5. So whatever assignment dates are over and they are evaluated, you'll be getting either 100 points, 90 points, 75, whatever. So these are the scores. So this is where you can actually check your progress. It's a good tool in terms of evaluating that how diligently you have been able to absorb the content and how far you are correct in terms of understanding and attempting the questions. Okay. Okay. Now, this is a very critical thing which I say in my lecture every time, that in order to gain a certificate, you have to sit to a physical exam, and to sit in a physical exam you need to be registered. So the last date to register for the examination was August 28th. Those who have a requirement of credit and the certificate requirement, probably you would have all registered by the 28th of August. This requires a fee of rupees 1000, wherein you will be able to gain a certificate if you meet the criteria of gaining a certificate, which I'll tell you in the next subsequent slide. However, there is also very interesting thing that there are many learners who come and attend sessions out of interest, out of passion. They are passion driven, they are interest driven, like we have today, and in many more sessions as well. So for them, the course is completely free. That's a very big offering from the NPTEL team. So if you want to learn from the content, it is completely free. You can come, you can join, you can go through the content. However, only for the certificate requirement, you'll have to pay the amount for the examination perspective. Okay. Now, these are the criteria to gain certificate. Let me explain you with a very, very simple, so like you have your internal examinations and you have your external examination, and then you have your final, so any examination, you have these components. So here, it has a weightage of 25%. This has a weightage of 75%, and this total sums up to 100% or 100 marks, you can say. So in terms of marks, you can say 25 marks, 75 marks, and then final out of 100. Now, as I mentioned that best 8 assignments after 12 will be considered, so you can attempt all of them, and the best 8 will be considered in terms of evaluating your 25 marks or 25 percentage of the marks. Now 75% marks will come from your physical examination. So you'll have to go there at a center, you have to sit in a 3-hour paper, and then you have to attempt the question. And that's where, these 75 marks will come. And some of these will lead to your final score. However, there is a small catch here that, in order to gain a certificate, so your assignment score needs to be more than 10 out of 25. And in the final exam needs to be more than 30. Okay. So this is very, very critical because individually you need to meet the criteria at 2 levels. Okay. Individually, which means internally you have to be more than 10 marks equal to, and it should be more than equal to 30 marks. And even in the final thing, it needs to be more than equal to 40 marks overall. Okay. So besides this bifurcation, you need to meet these criteria. So this is a very critical thing. So you meet individual criteria, you meet the overall criteria, and that's where you will gain a certificate. Okay. So this is how we have been progressing from week 1 to week 6. We started with, introduction to entrepreneurship, what GDC is, some basic, inputs around why startups fail, what are the mistakes by startup. Then we went to week 2 lecture wherein it was about hand holding for the entrepreneurship. And we understood from the journey of Mustafa, which is the ID batter. And then there was a panel discussion with few more entrepreneurs who shared their journey, their challenges, their suggestions to the upcoming entrepreneurs. Week 3 was about methodology to innovation, wherein we talked about the 7 concerns by Professor Chakravarti, including the values of death, and then framing a problem statement. And finally, week 4, which was about the ideas program. It was a program by the ID Bombay. We saw solar oven case study by Avinash, who was a ID Bombay student, and how he took it up as a startup. So he shared his discovery, and how he reached to that stage. Week 5 was about healthcare innovation. We saw certain medicine and technology success stories, medtech stories. And finally, we come to week 6, wherein there are two main highlights. We have Miss Shilpi sorry, from the Khoj Labs, and then we have Mr. Dhyan from F1 Studios. Okay. And what they do is that they both share very interesting insights into, how they ventured into different job roles, right from corporate to at the end, starting up with their own venture. And what they learned in this process, how they have been, managed to scale up their operations, how have been they, getting the clients, and how they have managed to, stay put with their employees, and considering, and factors like creating a very very rich culture, wherein you meet together, you meet as a family member, you go for an outing, and you share criticism, as well as you share the light moments. So a very interesting stories from both of them perspectives, which talks about human centered innovation, as well as how you create enterprise UX. So uh, so the sorry so the week 6 questions are basically pertaining to whatever we have understood from Miss Shilpi, as well as Mr. Dhyan. Okay. Okay. So these are the two typology of questions you will find in the assignments. One is a single option correct. Okay. Where single option is correct. And here you get multiple correct answers. So a demarcation of it is that you have circular thing. These are called radio buttons, and here you have multi-select options. So for example, if I get a question on which soft drink do you want, and I have these selections, so probably I can select only one. So I'll just select one of them. So either I can select this or any other option. However, if it is a multi-select question, what do you want in your milk tea? I can, do multi-select. Okay, so if you've been attempting these assignments, probably this would have been very, very clear up till now. Okay, coming to the marking of multiple choice questions. It was a very critical thing in the beginning, but we were able to make people understand about how the marking is. Let me explain it with the example. Now, say for example, this is question 1 and this is question 2. Question 1 has option A, B, C, and D. Okay, of which option A is the correct answer, option C is the correct answer. Now, as a learner, what you do is you attempt the question. Okay. If you select A and C, you will get full marks. All right. So you have chosen the correct answers and you will get full marks of it. However, say for example, you are attempting this question and you selected A, C, and D. Okay. In this kind of scenario, although A and C are correct, but D is an incorrect option. So you will be getting no marks. You'll get 0 marks. Although you have opted for 2 correct options, but you have also opted for an incorrect option. Now there is a scenario 3. What happens is that there were 2 correct answers, but you selected say only C. Okay. You missed out on A. Here in this scenario, you will be getting partial marks. Okay. Partial marks, why? Because you have not chosen the incorrect answer. You have chosen the correct answer only. Okay. So these are some tricks of it. One needs to be aware when attempting question. And this is how, you can actually probably score in a much more thoughtful way. Okay. So let's begin with our question set of today. Uh, as I mentioned, there are 10 questions, and we'll be having both typology of question where one answer is correct and multiple choice are there. So the question is, according to Ms. Shilpi Kumar, again, she is from the Khoj Labs and IIT Bombay alumnus. So if you've gone through the content, you'll be able to understand. According to Ms. Shilpi Kumar, the balance of which aspects are important for a startup. Okay, so we are talking about startup, and what are the different aspects the balance is required in order to have a sustained startup. So the options are A, business, psychological, and emotional needs. Option B talks about human, business, and customer needs. Option C talks about human, technology, and business needs. And option D is about technology, social, and company needs. So I would request our learners that if you can, pitch in now and share your thoughts on it. Anyone?
Sir, I think it's B.
B. Okay. So can you explain? I mean, how did you arrive at this?
Mm, because that's the only option which has customer to it. Otherwise, there is no user. Um,
Okay. 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 So I'll just go one by one, and probably we'll try to understand, what is it that we are talking about. All right. Now, if we see this question, the first option says business, psychological, and emotional needs. Now, again, these both needs are pertaining to an individual. Okay. So we can say that this talking about human needs and business needs. Yeah. Psychological and emotional needs are mostly pertaining to an individual. Second option is human, business, and customer. Okay. So yes, you are correct that customer is very, very important. Third option is human, technology, and business. So we are touching upon three different points. And the fourth option is technology, social, and company needs. This talks about company needs, although business needs are quite important, but the term of capturing business needs is well described here. Instead of company needs, the ideal term is business needs. Now, coming to your option which says human, business, and customer. Now, if you look closely, human and customer are quite close to each other. I mean, it's we can say that customer is a subset of human in a certain way, right? So, although we are trying to address business needs, which is very critical, but customer basically forms the subset of human. Okay, so if you see, the correct answer is human, technology, and business needs. So let me share a graphic with you. This is the graphic from the content, and where Ms. Shilpi is saying that we frame problems, okay, and work on innovation that balance human, technology, and business needs. So you are correct that customer needs to be taken care, but then basically when we say human, we are basically talking about customer as well. It is very much a part of the human term. Okay, so these three are very, very critical as per Ms. Shilpi, and these needs to be taken care. Okay, so like I was saying about human, I mean this is the term people used, but human customers, they are all party to it. Okay, so the other two dimensions apart from human is technology and also capturing the business needs. Okay, so the correct answer is C, which is human, technology, and business needs. Okay. Okay. Fine. We'll go to the next question. The next question is, as presented in the Khoj Lab case study by Ms. Shilpi Kumar, the old ways of innovation or jugaad in the Indian context leads to which of the following phenomena? Okay. She is talking about old ways of innovation. जुगाड़ की बात हो रही है. भारतीय परिप्रेक्ष्य में ये काफी यूज किया जाता है. It is a term which has now been drawn into books. Okay, so the options are copy paste culture, success, increased scaling of operations, and challenges new ways of doing business. So take a time to understand the options, and we'll try to see which is the correct one. Any inputs there from the learners?
No, sir. No idea.
Okay, no issue. Okay, so the question says, as presented in Khoj Lab case study by Ms. Shilpi, the old ways of innovation or jugaad in the Indian context leads to which of the following phenomena? Now, A says copy paste culture, then you have success, then you have increased scaling of operations, and then challenging new ways of doing business. So the best way that let me connect with you to the content. Uh, if you go through the YouTube content and you reach out to this particular timestamp, you will see her talking about Jugaad and the old ways and the new ways of doing things. Now, she mentions about copy paste culture through Control C and Control V. Okay. So basically what we are talking about is that when we go to a client and the client says that, okay, we want to revamp this, and basically I've seen this, you use this, you create something similar to this, create something similar to this. I hope you would be agreeing to what I'm trying to say. So many times what happens that people, or those who require some work to be done from the team, they will have some benchmarks, or they will have some role models of what is happening, and they'll say that, okay, let's try to copy paste, let's try to do the same thing. Okay, so that is what she's referring to, the copy paste culture. you know. So again, the question is old ways of innovation. So this is what she's referring to, old ways of innovation, that you look at something, say for example, any other country, like maybe from China or Japan, or even some other country or some other company is doing something, you copy those things here and you try to develop it here. So that is what she is trying to refer to, copy paste culture. So these kind of thought process, they basically lead you to the copy paste culture, wherein you are just trying to not thinking much, not reflecting, not understanding the contextual user needs, but actually just copy pasting stuff, and then so these kind of things leads to certain phenomena called the copy paste culture. Now, what also it does is that it challenges the new way of doing business. Okay, because if you have this kind of mindset wherein you just want to reuse certain stuff and don't want to get into that aspect of innovation, or something new, it pops out as a big challenge. And that's where designers really need to put forward their issue, that we need to talk to the user, we need to understand the real challenges, we need to find the real problems, and then probably we'll be able to address that. Just copy pasting certain stuff, just reflecting on or creating something which is similar to some other dashboard might not be relevant, might not be even required by the end user. So it again creates a problem when we are doing business. So according to Shilpi, these are the two aspects which creates challenge, and that is where the correct answer is copy paste culture, and challenges the new ways of doing the business. We'll come to question 3 now. Question 3 is talking about, as discussed in Khoj Lab case study, being innovative includes which of the following factors? Okay. So the options you have are evolution with time, knowledge of future needs, integrative approach, and customer value. खोज लैब केस स्टडी में किसको बताया गया है कि वो बीइंग इनोवेटिव में आता है, वो एक फैक्टर है जो कि इनोवेटिव टर्म के अंडर आता है, ऑप्शंस आपके पास है समय के साथ बदलाव, एवोल्यूशन विद टाइम, आगे की जो आपकी जो भविष्य की जो ज़रूरतें हैं उसके बारे में आपको ज्ञान होना, नॉलेज ऑफ फ्यूचर नीड्स, इंटीग्रेटिव अप्रोच मतलब साथ लेते हुए सभी को इंटीग्रेट करते हुए एक मापदंड के साथ आप चलें, और कस्टमर वैल्यू। एनी सजेशंस? Okay. So let me tell you the right answer. The right answer is evolution with time. समय के साथ बदलाव लाना, नॉलेज ऑफ द फ्यूचर नीड्स, भविष्य की जो जरूरतें हैं उसके उसका ज्ञान होना आपके पास, और कस्टमर वैल्यू। कस्टमर वैल्यू इज समथिंग which probably all the past modules and lectures have talked about. Okay, so it lies at the very core part of it, that the customer and the customer needs, and then by addressing those needs, you are creating value in the life of customer. Okay, so customer value is something which is very 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 intrinsic into any of the design approaches, and any of the approaches we try to form in a design. So these are the correct answers. We will proceed to our next question, which is, according to my Shilpi Kumar, what is the first step in trying to solve a problem? अब वो पहला क्या step होता है when we are let me just correct it. So for example, these are the steps of uh, problem. So we are talking about what is that first step of solving a problem. Okay, the options you have are trying to find solution to a given design brief, figuring out what the user needs. Third is framing the problem as a problem. And D is fulfilling the business needs and growth. Okay. Now, again, this is something which requires, attention, and detail observation. Week 6 content. Okay. So if we go by option, trying to find out solution to a given design brief. Okay. Now, obviously, once you form a design brief, then probably uh, your work is comparatively easier. Okay. But then uh, probably design brief needs to be formed. Okay. So I won't say that, trying to find a solution is probably the next step. Okay. So trying to find a solution to a given design brief is something which might be a subsequent step. But the question is that, you need to first have a brief, and then only you will be go about, trying to come up with a solution of it. Right. Unless you have a brief, unless you have a problem statement, you won't be able to solve that problem. So that is the very much requirement. So the second option says figuring out what user needs are. And that is there. You need to find the user needs. You need to, that's again very critical, finding user needs. Third option is framing the problem as problem. And fourth is fulfilling the business needs and growth. Now, fulfilling the business needs and growth is something which is required, but it is a partial aspect to it. Okay. It is one part to it. So business forms one angle, and then you have user. So these both needs to be addressed in a certain way. Okay, there are business goals and users goals. Business is just half of it. So again, this option is incorrect. This option is incorrect. Now we are talking about the middle two options, the B and C, which says figuring out what the user needs are, and C is framing the problem as a problem. Now, there is some kind of dichotomy here, because if you go through the content from the previous modules and the other speakers, they would emphasize on the user needs. Okay, so previous modules, if you see, they will be focusing on identifying the user needs. Okay, however, if you look at the current content, which is of week 6, wherein Miss Shilpi she talks about framing the problem as a problem. Okay. And when I say that, let me supplement it with an image. Okay. This is what she is referring to. Framing the problem as a problem and not to validate if the this is a good design for me. Many times what happens that instead of framing the right problem, what we do is we try to induce certain reflections of the design itself or certain reflections of the solution in itself. Now that is not right. That's what uh, the mentors have been talking about, the professors have been talking about. The problem needs to be a problem. You should not ideally have reflections of solutions or pointing towards your solution. The problem needs to be stated in a way that it is a problem statement, and it gives you a good amount of territory in terms of addressing that problem. Okay, so like I mentioned, first and fourth were not into picture. This might have been correct if we had been talking about the past few lectures, but in this particular module and this context of Shilpi, the correct answer is framing the right problem. Okay. I hope things are fine, learners. If there are any, okay, I'll still continue. I'll still continue. Hmm. Okay. Now, this is the question in the context of Mr. Dhyan, uh, who is from the F1 Studios. And we are capturing the philosophy of F1 Studio. What forms the philosophy? And he had a very interesting, presentation. If you have gone through the content, it talks and ventures into very, very different aspects of, how they have grown, how they, work for certain startups who kind of raised a lot of capital, eventually, and how they started working with some really big names and some really big firms as well. They got associated with it, and now they're not only having Indian clients, but they also have, reaching out to abroad clients as well. So I think that is a very, very great skill of operations which they have, succeeded to do in short period of time. So if you go through the content of the week says, so Mr. Dhayan, he talks about, his philosophy, which is very, very critical in terms of their growth in the industry and how they kind of, become unique in so many startups which are offering services into the user experience part of it. Now, to help you, I mean, this is the kind of graphic which was presented where he talks about the philosophy, it talks about simplicity, it talks about empathy, and it talks about agility. Okay, so in his content, he shares that one of his kind of speciality or critical points is that they need to be quick. Everybody wants something quicker. They want faster things, and that's where they kind of pitch in. Apart from being generating solutions which are simple and not overcomplicating the things, but at the same time understanding the empathy aspect of the users, empathizing with the user and trying to come up with solutions which kind of address their needs, and then becoming agile, becoming quick in terms of iterating and coming up with the solutions. Okay, so the correct answer is simplicity, empathy, and agility. Okay. Coming to question 6, which of the following understanding will lead to a good design brief according to Ms. Shilpi Kumar? इनमें से कौन सी ऐसी चीजें हैं जो आपको एक अच्छे, हाँ, एक अच्छे डिजाइन ब्रीफ की तरफ ले जाएगी? ओके, आपके पास ऑप्शंस हैं, पेन पॉइंट्स ऑफ द यूजर. नाउ लेट मी जस्ट हेल्प यू. आई मीन, नॉर्मली pain is termed in terms of physical pain. Now here when we talk about pain points in terms of user and in terms of the design context, pain points are basically the challenges. Okay, so there might be learners who might confuse कि pain point क्या है. So these are not the दर्द, है ना, ये दर्द और पीड़ा वाले पॉइंट नहीं है. वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट. वी आर नॉट द फिजिकल पेन पॉइंट्स. वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द challenges in forming a task, or completing a kind of a, say for example, you can say, if you are doing a purchase in a cart and then you are finding issues while doing it, or something popping up. So those are the kind of challenges and the problems you are facing. Okay, so those are being referred to as pain points. Okay. Okay, so we have got an answer A and D. All right, all right. Okay, so learner says A and D. Okay, however, we'll just go through it. So, pain points of the user. Second option says quarterly objectives of the management team. Now, it's a very interesting thing. Quarterly objectives of management team. Option C is overall journey of the user, and option D is how the solution fits into the overall ecosystem of the user. Okay. Now, if I lead you to the correct answers are pain point and the user, overall journey of the user, as well as how the solution fits. So you've been partly correct in terms of point A and point D, but then there's also point C which talks about overall journey of the user. Okay, so you need to understand the complete journey of a user, right from uh, adopting your solution to to the customer service, to how the things are working out, how it is how one is closing the kind of transaction. So that is very, very important. You might come up with a very fascinating app, but then if you're not getting that product on time, or the quality of some of the product which you have ordered through that app is not nice, then the complete experience fails. Okay, so that is where journey of the user is important in terms of what are the interaction points. For example, if you are designing an app, is the user using the app through his mobile phone, or he's using the website version of it? So so this is just one example, but there can be different touch points of a user, and you have to capture those touch points, and you have to think and design in a certain way that it is seamless. It works well in all those scenarios. Okay, seventh question is, what does a typical design researcher and strategist objective is when working for a client? Okay, so your options are: focus on the core idea of the product. Option B is focus on ensuring the needs of the users are met. C says balancing the business lens with the desirability lens and the technology lens. And option D says focusing on enhancing the experience of the customer. So I request you to take some time and try to, uh, you know, uh, understand, what the options are saying, and try to, find out what would be your, point of view for this particular question. What does a typical design researcher and a strategist objective is when you're working for a client? Okay, just take a time and try to observe what the options are. Let me just check if we have any of the learners right now. Okay. So we have got one option, and the option is B. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Fine. So the learner says focusing on ensuring the needs of user are met. All right. Let's go and see the correct answers. But before that, let me refer you to the content which was shared by Miss uh, Shilpi. And it says balancing the business lens with the desirability lens and the technology lens. Okay. So when you're talking about, design researcher and strategist objective, now, how this option is correct, let me tell you. So ensuring the needs of the user is something which, a designer would want to pitch for it. We essentially would want, to understand the problems and the needs of a user and try to address it. But from a strategist point of view, the business part needs to be addressed as well. Okay. So that is where, you need to balance the business aspect as well. Okay. So the correct answer is C, which is balancing the business lens with the desirability lens and the technology lens. Okay. So we come to the eighth question. Complete the following sentence. As mentioned by Dhan, as a designer must also learn to empathize with dash and dash. The options are users, organization, market, and business. Okay. As a designer, one must also learn to empathize. Okay. So, something is triggering here. पूछ रहे हैं कि एज अ डिजाइनर वन मस्ट लर्न टू एम्पथाइज विद डैश एंड डैश। तो एज अ डिजाइनर आपको दो चीजों से आपको एम्पथाइज करना रहता है। आपके ऑप्शंस है यूजर्स, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, मार्केट एंड बिजनेस। Okay, so if you have gone through the content, I mean, even the questions which have been pretty lately raised, we see that these are the two goals which needs to be mapped, right? And what are these two goals? These two goals are the business needs and the user needs. Okay? Business and user, you can say needs, and which drives into formation of goals. So understanding and empathizing with the business aspect of designer and generating money, that is what, when designer is seen as an entrepreneur. Okay. So you are not just empathizing, but you are also trying to, come up with a business. You need to have money. And that's where, the business aspect will come into play. All right. So the correct answer here is users and business. Okay. We come to our ninth question. And okay. Complete the following sentence as said by Mr. Dhya. Success criteria is dash when there is lack of focus. Okay. तो बात हो रही है फोकस की। फोकस अटेंटिवनेस भी बोल सकते हैं, कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड अटेम्प्ट भी बोल सकते हैं। सो सक्सेस क्राइटेरिया पे कैसे इम्पैक्ट होता है अगर लैक ऑफ फोकस होता है। तो अगर आपका फोकस नहीं है या फिर फोकस की कमी है आप में, सक्सेस क्राइटेरिया कैसे इम्पैक्ट होता है। सो द ऑप्शंस आर lesser, greater, enhanced, and relevant. So I think even if you see it beyond the scope of design and even in journal life, I mean, you will find that you will be able to attempt this question. Okay, but let me give you the content recap. It says success criteria is lesser when there is a lack of focus. तो जब हम फोकस की बात कर रहे हैं, बेसिकली बता रहे हैं कि कोई भी आप काम करें, अगर आपका फोकस नहीं होगा, यू आर डाइवर्टिंग, यू आर शिफ्टिंग इनटू डिफरेंट थिंग्स, ऑब्वियसली the kind of outcome you are trying to derive is not that. Okay. So you need to be focused. He also talked about, the importance of saying no. So he said that in his presentation that there were many projects for which they said no. I mean, they said no to the website design. They said no to social media marketing. They said no to making short animations and video animations. So they were kind of focused to a certain aspect of work which they would want to take up, which they would want to work on it, and that is where this is critical. So that is where it says success criteria is lesser when there is lack of focus. All right. So the correct answer is lesser. Now we come to the final question. The question is, to build trust factor with enterprise level customers, a firm should focus on which of the following attributes as explained by Dhyan in lecture 6: quality, speed, transparency, and security. Okay. We are talking about building, trust, trust factor. A firm should focus on which of the following. तो अगर एक फर्म है उसको किन एस्पेक्ट्स पे फोकस करना चाहिए in order to build trust factor. और आपके ऑप्शंस हैं क्वालिटी, स्पीड, ट्रांसपेरेंसी एंड सिक्योरिटी. So take time, just go through the options and see what could be the right answer. क्वालिटी, गुणवत्ता, स्पीड, आप कितनी तेजी से ये कार्य कर रहे हैं, how much agile you are, transparency, and that is again a very very critical aspect, as in terms of how transparent you are, with your users as well as with your client. you know so he also gives an example by showing that to the client that these are the different stages, and at each stage we'll be using these kind of tools. So that kind of creates a trust factor, that you're sharing that you'll be using these tools, you'll be working on these tools. Okay. So I have slide, I'll also present it later, but these are the options. So you might try and attempt these options. So the option suggested is A, C, and D. A, C, and D. Hmm. Okay. So yes, quality is very, very important. I think I agree with it. Uh, uh, Transparency, yes, I think transparency is something which we just discussed about, that you need to create that kind of trust factor, and it only happens when you are being transparent. You are being transparent to your users, you are being transparent to your client, and you have said security. Now, let me show you the content recap and it will help you understand. So, typically, a client looks for these three aspects, which is quality, speed, and transparency. And this is based on what Mr. Dhyan has said, that these are the three things which typically a client looks, and that's why the answers are quality, speed, and transparency. Okay. Okay. See, security can have many more dimensions. I mean, in this particular context, security is not the correct answer. Uh, but obviously, one aspect is that, when you are entering into a project, you will have non-disclosures, and you'll have agreements that whatever you are working on for this particular client will be between you and the client, and it will not be dissolved into the outside world. It will not be dissipated in any form in the outside world or leaked out. So I think security aspects in terms of content sharing and whatever you are developing, that I think that remains very critical. But yes, I mean, that is governed and that is ensured using certain clauses, certain agreements, certain understandings between the two parties, and that is how they deal with the security aspect. uh, Again, that is from a client perspective, but if you talk from a user perspective, security will have a different meaning, that whatever I'm sharing as a data, that needs to be secure, right? So security has a weightage, but it depends on what user role we are talking about. If you're talking about client, it has a different meaning, which is addressed in a different way. Like I mentioned about through, agreements and, MOUs and, understanding between the two parties. But if we talk about user, for them, the security is also about, what is happening with their data. All right. So it could be the right answer, but in a different context. Okay. So in a client context, it is a bit different. So yes, you were quite close, and these are the three right answers. Great. So now coming to the discussion forum questions, we have been discussing these questions in the past, and so yes, the announcement section is there where you can go and check the latest updates from the NPTEL team. So there was a learner who had issues in watching the content, so we shared the week-wise content. Probably it has been sorted because no further request had come in terms of you know uh, sharing the content. One user was unable to register for the course, but I believe that it has been resolved because no further engagement on the thread was happening. And this was the week 4 content for the same learner. Week 5 content we tried to address. So if you are looking at the video at this particular stage, we addressed it in the very beginning of it. All right. So these are the annotations. Let me just quickly present it once again. So the question was, according to healthcare and innovation culture, why are people not able to go from idea to impact? These were the options: difficulty in converting idea into POC, reluctance of most people to go forward, crossing the valley of death, lack of cooperation between academic institution and industry, and funding requirements. Okay. Now, one aspect is that we need to see what typology of the question is. It is a radio button question, which means only one will be correct. Okay. One answer is correct. Okay. Now, if it is a radio button question and only one answer is going to be correct, then we need to look for what is the most appropriate. Okay. What is the most appropriate option which fits into this context? Okay. So the learner was saying that even option C had a weightage, and probably if you go to content, even option D will have a weightage. But if you see the appropriateness, it is talking about to go from idea to impact. Okay. We are talking about this journey right from the beginning till the end. Okay. So if you see these options, probably uh, funding requirements in each stage is yes critical, but then it is not very critical because there are many different agencies who are working around, who are able to address those needs, meet those needs. So like he mentioned, there are utter tinkering labs which helps you with the facilities and resources. There are many incubators which help you with their prototyping facilities. So likewise, you have those kind of setup already there, which can be utilized in terms of getting that funding requirement. Lack of cooperation between academic institution and industry, yes, that is also aspect, but then it pertains to a certain part of it. Okay. So it is playing a role there, but it is playing at a partial level. Okay. So it might be a correct answer. Now again, so there could have been multiple right answers if it would have been a multi select. ओके। अगर यहाँ इसमें बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस होते, अगर ये वाला ऑप्शन आता तो हो सकता है कि इसमें कई ऑप्शंस करेक्ट हो जाते। ऑलराइट, बट क्योंकि ये सिंगल करेक्ट आंसर वाला क्वेश्चन है जहाँ पे ओनली वन and the most appropriate response needs to be there, and that's where the answer on reluctance of most people to go from the crossing the valleys of death is probably correct. Okay. Okay. So now we are getting into the content recap. We have completed the discussion forum questions. We completed the list of 10 questions, which was quite similar to the week 6 assignment. And now we are just trying to revise, what all we covered in this particular content. So Mr. Jalpi Kumar was an IIT Bombay alumnus. She also had a background in architecture, and she worked at many other places. She worked at Herman Miller, and many other firms. And then, as I mentioned, she is an architect, she is an industrial designer, and then she also played a hat of different roles. She is a designer, she's a facilitator, strategist, storyteller, researcher, futurist, advocate. So when you enter into a field of design and you have that kind of strong, background, you fit into different roles, start playing multiple roles. And that's where she also mentioned that she's more of, all these things which have been, she has been doing. So it's very, very, very fascinating to see that, how one person, flourishes in a certain way, that you don't limit yourself to being a designer or being an architect, but you play multiple roles, you wear different hats, and that is where you bring in value to any organization you're part in with. Okay, so this is what her startup was, you can say, the coach lab which she started. And it is, as she mentioned, sort of a multicultural, multilingual women partnering with consultants across organizations to improve their business value with a human-centered approach. Okay, so human-centric is something that's very, very critical nowadays. So is planet-centric. It is a new term, but yet again, it is gaining quite weightage, the kind of globalization and ecosystem challenges we have. So yes. Okay, so in her journey, she also talks about the good design brief, which addresses the pain points of the user, the overall journey of the user, and how your solution fits into the overall system of overall ecosystem. So there could be a possibility that you are coming up with a solution for, say, for example, a solution which kind of addresses the universal audience to a monument or a heritage site. Okay. Now, you might come up with certain applications, you might come up with certain guides, you might, come up with certain facilities by which you are able to address them. But the question is, how does a person who is challenged either physically or visually, or who is hearing impaired, would first of all reach a particular monument or site? Okay, so you might have a very fascinating solution, you might have a very, very functional and amazing thing which you have developed within a site, wherein the visually impaired can actually touch and feel things, the hearing impaired can actually again utilize other senses, the physically challenged has been given a facility of say for example wheelchair, on or exoskeletons for that matter. But the question is, how are they going to reach that particular site? So when we're talking about overall ecosystem, we are essentially talking about completing the loop. Okay. We are talking about, how does one reach to that particular area, from then he, utilize that particular context, how he gets down, how he comes back, you know. So that is the overall ecosystem. It is just one example in order to explain, what we are being referring to. Your solution could be a part of it, but then you have to zoom out and see, how it fits into the overall ecosystem. Now that is very, very critical. Okay. And this is something most of the students from design thinking would relate. Uh, how it helps is that, you might have something which is very, very messy, but, through processes, through different, techniques, you're trying to simplify things. So simplicity is one of the keyword. So from the complicated, mess of things or mesh of things, you're trying to simplify and you're trying to narrow down. You're trying to simplify the life of the user. That is how design values and creates an impact. Also, in the content, they played a very, very interesting video. Okay, on what is not innovation. So they were trying to ask questions around what is innovation, but however, instead of getting the response, they then shifted their gear to what is not innovation, and they list down the 7 myths of innovation, which you have gone through the content probably. And even if you're not, you can again, go through the content and you can, uh, revise, what are those, 7 myths of innovation. It's a very, uh, insightful video wherein they have captured opinions from academicians, from the industry people, and they are trying to address what their understanding of innovation is, or what they think that is a myth which is going around developing around innovation and which needs to be busted. Okay. Then we came on to our second, or rather, users say I would use the word startup journey. Again, and if you see how he started, F1 had two images. One is that of a Formula One car, and the other was F1, which is used as a key for help. And that is where they got that essence of both these things. Probably I see that as a mix of both, wherein you have that agility, you have that fast and quick turnarounds, and then you are able to facilitate and help the clients with their needs, and fulfilling the user needs as well. So I believe that it's a very very insightful use of the word F1 which they have used in terms of their studio. And as there was a question, it talked about the philosophy, the three critical pillars of their philosophy, which is being simple and simplicity, not complicating things so that it again becomes a jumbled up outcome. So being making it more simplified, empathizing the users, empathizing the clients as well, to come up with a solution which fits into both the user goals and the business goals, and being agile, being quite proactive, being quite iterative, in terms of solutions. So during your initial stage, good work is much more important than a big team. Now, this is a very, very important statement, and that's why I've kept in on this slide, that initially when you start your work, you know और अगर उस टाइम आप कट शॉर्ट करते हैं, या you do not follow the process, or you do not turn around or come out with interesting work or great work, probably it does not help. And even if you have a smaller team, you have lesser number of clients, but the work which you are doing is of value, is you're addressing the critical needs, it's eventually when people use your work, or they might get referrals, then this work of yours will be counted. Okay. So he explained this by giving an example that they reached to a client, and they said that we had created that app, and they said that, oh, okay, that app you have created, okay, fine. So they did not ask any further questions, because they were so excited about that particular app. They were so kind of mesmerized with the functionality of the app, the kind of work they had done on that app, and probably they would have used that app. So that is why they understand the weightage and the value of that app. So when the creators went there and they said that we had created that app, they were like, yes, yes, please onboard us. We have used that app, it is perfect, it functions well, it is what we need. So no more further questioning is required. Okay. So that is where, when you start your journey, the initial few years need to be very critical. You need to be creating very valuable outputs. Okay. Okay. Now, as I mentioned that, as a startup, you need to match on to the user needs as well as the business needs, or, translating it to the user goals and business goals. From the user perspective, you need to ask, what are the pain points? What are your primary tasks? What does success mean to you? Okay. So this was more in terms of when they were talking about creating something for uh, the customers who are basically working on the screens, and working as a part of customer care unit for that flight application. And the business goals were that, why do you want to redesign? Why at this point? Why that tech stack? And why the migration? What is the success criteria for redesigns? So both the aspects, you need to list down these factors. And probably that is where you'll be able to capture the insights from all, and will help you come up with a better solution. Okay. So user goals are very very critical. Okay, so let's write it down. A very, very interesting slide and very, very important. So it's very significant. Whosoever is planning for an entrepreneurial journey, please try to, look at both these aspects. If you have answers to these questions, it will lead you to very, very important and, significant findings, which will help you, build your product or a service, whatever it is. Okay. This is what I was talking about, about transparency. They mentioned that, they would be sharing that upfront to the client that, so these are the different stages and we use, these are the different tools we have been using at different stages. So when you bring that kind of transparency, obviously the person who's at the other end, they would be like overwhelmed with the kind of fact that okay, you first of all you're using such diverse tools and you have got them segregated stage by stage and you are being transparent about it. So I think that is something which is very, very applaudable, sharing all these things, because I've seen many studios or organizations, they try to conceal it. They don't try to explicitly tell them what tools they are using. They'll only show the final outcome. But this kind of transparency is, something at the very next level. And I think this is probably one of the reasons that they are doing so well in the industry and they have been, getting so many projects. If this is the level of transparency you're building in with your clients, I think you're doing a great, understanding and great work. Okay. And why customers love F1? You empathize with business, you're using the right tools, you adhere to the process by bringing in transparency, you have a core team which is dedicated and doing work for it, and you have a interesting engagement model. So that is how they describe, how they are able to, connect with their audience and they are building that kind of relationship with the customers. So with that, we are ending the session today. I have just a few more, uh, things to share. Uh, what I'll do is I'll just quickly see if there's anyone in the call. If anybody wants to share something, that is fine. But then what I'll do is I'll just quickly browse through the content part. So if the learners are going through the content, you can leave the call. But if you would want to stay, I think that is perfectly fine. Okay, so this is the place wherein you will be able to see all the videos. This is my channel, and if you see week wise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the videos have been uploaded. Even this particular video, once the session is closed, I'll be stopping the recording and soon I'll be uploading the week 6 video as well. Okay. Just to tell you, how the content is. This is the week 6. This was the human-centered innovation content, which is the lecture 12, which talked about takeaways from Miss Shilpi Kumar, and we shared different viewpoints and how she has been, working in different organizations, and the comparative study of, how the different trajectory it follows, and yet they are sustained. He also talked about, different unique terms like, innovation silo, and then, coming on to her own work. And she also suggested a book by Victor Papanek on design for the real world. So if you are more interested into, understanding that from a sustainability point of view as well, I think it's something worth reading. There she talks about, making the problem statement, framing it. And this is where we are talking about the different myths of innovation. Okay. So very interesting video. Please go through it. You'll enjoy it. Okay. Then comes the creating user experience design. This is the lecture 13, wherein Mr. Dhayan is basically talking about his journey at F1 F1 Studios. So like you see, his background was from architecture, and then ID Bombay, so he did his masters, and then he was a part of corporate organizations, after launching his own, startup. This is how they have been celebrated. They have, been the finalists. They have done some great work. and he's talking about different culture, different work which they have done. This is how they have created and simplified the user experience for the WestJet company. And this see the impact: increased productivity of agents by decreasing ticket closure by 80% time. So this is the kind of impact which design is creating. And I think, this is what something, we value a lot, and even the companies and the clients would value a lot. So again, it's a very, very important aspect. Trust is the big word. And he talks about, how they have built a culture wherein, people take the ownership, do fantastic stuff, and how in the COVID they have been different, they have been connected, very interesting. Okay. So this is a section on weekly feedback. If you have any feedback to share, you can click here. It will open up a weekly feedback form. You can select week twice this and then select, whatever you feel like. Okay. And you can proceed further. Okay. And this is where the transcripts are, and you can download it. And this is where the problem solving sessions are present. Like I mentioned, when you click here, it will be opening up a Excel sheet, and these Excel sheet has the contents. So we started with 4 users. So let me just mention 4 here, and the remaining part I'll be uploading soon. Okay. So with that, I would like to attend today's session. Uh, yes, Bhavna, you were saying something?
So your screen was not visible. So at the end,
You should have unmuted and said to
I thought I might interrupt. So
Okay, that's interesting. But basically, what I was presenting was, how one can access the content on the web page. I'll do it very quickly now once again, since the point has come. Okay. Sorry, my bad. I mean, I missed that out. But let me share. Okay, I think this is visible now.
yes, yes.
Okay, great, great. So I'll be very quick now. So this is the channel wherein you can find the week-wise content from week 1 to week 5. I'll be uploading the week 6 content very soon. This is how the content looks like. Week 6 was first about human-centered innovation, where we saw the complete journey of Ms. Shilpi Kumar, and it's a YouTube video. It can be accessed through the YouTube platform as well as through the NPTEL platform. So this is the journey of Ms. Shilpi, and complete video is there. Then the other video was about Mr. Dhyan, who is from the F1 studio, and he talks about his journey, how he started, where all he worked, and how he built a team. What are the challenges he faced? What do you think is good design? What are the clients? There have been certain glimpses of the work which they have been done for the clients, and how you present and engage your team, what kind of testimonials you have been receiving, and the kind of culture they have tried to build up in their organization. So again, a very, very interesting work. This is where you can actually share the weekly feedback. If you click here, it will lead to a Google form, something like this. So you can select which week you would want to give a feedback. You can also give feedback for the previous weeks. Okay. So although it is a generic feedback which captures all the 12 weeks, but obviously one needs to thoughtfully use. So if you're sending the feedback today, it needs to be for week 6 or before week 6. Okay. And this is the section where you can download all the transcripts. And this is the problem solving session recording. As I mentioned, that if you click here, you'll be leading to a Excel sheet. These have been the various previous links, like I showed it on this particular. So all these links are basically associated with this. This is the shared drive wherein you can actually go and see the PDF, annotated PDF content, and you can go through the live lecture as well as the PDF content. So both will support your understanding. All right. All right. Great. So that is it from my side. So if you want to share anything, learner, I mean, Bhavna, you can share, or we can then close the session today.
No, sir, my doubts were cleared in the beginning only. So thank you
Great.
so
So
much.
so keep learning, keep enjoying entrepreneurship, and I really wish you that you start your thing which you mentioned earlier.
Thank, thank you so much.
Best wishes. Thank you. Okay, so this is something which I'll be just posting out. I think, Bhavna, if you want, you can leave. That's fine. So, all the learners, I mean, we have now reached the halfway. We are talking for week 6 content, and we have got 6 more weeks left with the content, with the assignments. Like I have been telling, it's a long journey, and I've seen that the participants have also, the count has been falling down. Uh, there are two ways of looking at it. One is that since there are many students and they are having exams, obviously, there is a pressure of exam. So that is completely understandable. The second thing is that the content in itself is so self-explanatory, so that the kind of issues or the problems are not much being generated. All right. So that is also there. I mean, that kind of supports the theory that the content is very much self-explanatory, and even the doubts whatever are encountered are being addressed in the videos in itself. Okay. So, like for one or two doubts, I mean, that's where the participants are coming in. But nevertheless, whatever the case is, our journey will continue. I'll keep, coming up in these sessions. I'll be, tracing certain questions. I'll be presenting certain questions, and how you try to make up the correct answer is something which we'll try to understand. Obviously, if the participants are more, then we try to understand the thought process. How are you thinking? How are you, leading to a particular answer or leading to a particular question? That really helps us understand your thought process, your and that is where we can empathize much more better. So we might lack that because the number of learners are not that much, but our journey of 12 weeks will continue as it is, like it had been going on for the past few weeks. We'll continue our journey for the 12 weeks. Obviously, exam is something which is very, very important. And I really hope that, all the uh, registration holders have done it perfectly well. And those who have missed it, probably, I don't think the extension is anywhere there. Uh, if there is a chance, probably NPTEL team would post it in terms of announcements. But those whoever required this course and the certification from a credit perspective, I believe all those have registered, and you have done the payment. You have opted for your designated centers and your proximity. I think that is something which is quite required, right? So those are the few things which I would want to share. And so we are now in September. The next month you have your exam. So not much time is left. Uh, so there would be your semester examinations, there would be your institute examinations, and then there is this NPTEL examination. Okay. So like those examinations in the physical format with proctors and investigators, uh, not investigators, invigilators. Likewise, you will be having the exam in the NPTEL center as well, wherein you'll have to go and you'll have to sit there for 3 hours duration, and you have to attempt that paper. So that is again an important significant last step which will lead you to your certification. Okay. So with that, I end my session today. Very good luck. Best wishes to all of the learners, and keep attempting the assignments. Attempting assignments and submitting the assignments are very much important. Keep doing that. Wish you all the luck. Thank you.